starting about where we left off, Joe is going to shoot a question Sam's way about why the new general artificial intelligence would have human values. And almost immediately, we start to run into the kinds of contradictions you can expect when you think you can build something this recursive. Here we go.
Remove all of those, and what actions would it take, and why?
Well, I think you want to build it in a way that is focused on our well-being. And so, for instance, I had Stuart Russell on my podcast. He's a computer scientist at Berkeley, who, unlike many computer scientists, takes this problem really seriously. I believe they're working on a way of thinking about safety that is open-ended and flexible without pretending we have any of the right answers in the near term or likely to have them. So you want to build a system that wants to know what you want, right, at each point. So that's tracking what humanity wants in terms of its goals.
In other words, a slave program. So we want the independent program to want the things we want. So it's not independent of us. If it's not independent of us, then the question follows, why do we think it's sentient?
I choose to believe what I was programmed to believe!
Where have I heard this line of reasoning before? I just can't quite seem to put my finger on it. Oh, no. So I'd like to move on here, and in the next few moments of this conversation that gets pretty lively, Sam makes a huge mistake, which, quite frankly, I can't say I'm surprised that he made this mistake at this point. I'm just kind of in awe that someone that debated theologians for as long as he has made this kind of an error.
Yeah, well, it's a whole spectrum of the people who think that this is never going to happen, or it's so far away that thinking about it now is completely irrational, to people who are super worried and think that huge changes are imminent. And so it's just the spectrum.
Sam thus far has already illustrated his point, so I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. He would rather be safe than sorry, but there is an inherent fallacy in the construction of this kind of an argument. You might have heard of it before. Good old Pascal's Wager. Pascal's Wager is an apologetic argument conceived of first by 17th century philosopher Blaise Pascal. Pascal's Wager is an argument in an attempt to rationalize a positive stance on the existence of God. In this incarnation, the only real difference to be in observance of is the substitution of God for artificial intelligence, which isn't much of a stretch considering how many times godlike has been uttered. So let's take a look at this Punnett square of possibilities. A simple 2x2 square will illustrate each one of the outcomes that can be expected based on prior belief. On the top columns, we have the conditions strong AI is possible and strong AI is not possible. On the left two rows, we have the conditions positive belief and absence of belief. In the first outcome, if strong AI is not possible and you are a believer, nothing happens. If strong AI is not possible and you don't believe, once again, nothing happens. If you do believe in strong AI and it is possible, then congratulations, you are prepared for the robo-apocalypse. If you didn't heed the warning of our crack scientists and mathemologists, then you are not prepared for the robo-rapture. We'll call this bottom left panel the spooky danger zone. The spooky danger zone should be avoided at all costs, even if it turns out it's not actually real. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of this ultimatum and the kinds of logical pitfalls it can land you into. What the doomsayers would have us believe is that it's much safer to be prepared than sorry in the event of such a robo-apocalypse. But we've yet to see any compelling evidence that general intelligence is even conceivable. Oh, but if we don't prepare now, we'll land ourselves in robo-hell or something?
That was pretty brutal even by my standards.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not done by a long shot, so all aboard the crazy train.
Yeah, well, my concern is not even with the initial construction, like the initial AI. My concern is with what the AI creates. If we give the AI ability to improve upon itself and look at our irrational thoughts and how we've programmed itself to support the human race, and then it might go, well, why the fuck would I do that? Like, you guys are ridiculous. Like, this is a new life form.
That's exactly what it's not, though.
This is a new, we've given birth to some incredibly potent new thing that we think of it as artificial. But, I mean, is it really?
Yes, it most certainly is. And we are the artificer.
Human beings have sort of, the analogy I always use is that we're some sort of an electronic caterpillar giving birth to some spectacular butterfly that we're not even aware of while we're building our cocoon.
I think the exact opposite is the case. In fact, we're so aware of the cocoon that we're actively anticipating how it might turn out.
My worry would be, I guess it's not even really a worry, it's more like looking at the possibility of the AI improving upon itself and making a far better version than we could create.
But somehow we can create the version that creates a far better version of itself? Doesn't that just mean the things it makes are derivative of us? I'm having an aneurysm. And that aneurysm is creating an even better version of it, so I've lost control of my left arm. Now, where were we?
But and by build, you should be thinking more software than hardware.
Right.
I mean, there's anything is possible. Anything that can be built with intelligence can be built with intelligence. So
Well played. I have no choice but to agree with you.
you could be talking about armies of robots and nanotechnology and everything else that is the staple of the sci-fi scare scenario. But more likely and certainly faster and ultimately more powerful, you're talking about something that can rewrite its own code.
Important distinction here. The concept of self-modifying code is a topic on the series of metaprogramming. Metaprogramming, incidentally, still requires a head program to set it in motion. In this way, it's a bit of a misnomer to call this a self-modifying code so much as it is a set of processes that can allow later instructions to overlap over the archived originals.
If it looked at in one light, it's just all upside. I mean, there's nothing better than intelligence. There's nothing more intrinsically desirable than intelligence. And so to get more of it seems an intrinsic good. And so it takes an extra step to say, well, wait a minute, this could in fact be the most dangerous thing we've ever done. And you have to spend a lot of time fighting that ideological battle with people who just think, no, this is just all upside. This is what could go wrong.
What, there's no room for a doubting Thomas in here? Where's option number 3? Man, that Jesus looks like Keanu Reeves. Well, that about does it for now. I'm gonna go take one of those 8-hour naps people are so fond of. I'll see you in part 3.